In the beginning of this video, I started to doing something very interesting. The fact that I will quitting to doing a diecast collection and starting to doing a new collection in 2024, which of course is to do retro consoles and retro games from this year and forever. Now, I want to show you some updates, which is this. Yes, I'm buying again a PlayStation 2. We're not gonna talk about only the PlayStation 2. Of course, we're gonna talk about shortly some stories about that console because it was my first console game that I'm starting to do everything. Like without this console, it never happened to usually making this video, or probably do not know about games or video games in general when I was a baby. But of course, we're even gonna talk about some other things instead of the PlayStation 2. We're gonna talk about some updates with some other consoles that I actually did, some actually new upgrades from some like portable consoles. Of course, we're gonna talk about PlayStation 2, and more specifically, I'm gonna talk about even the PlayStation 3, which shockingly, I bought this in 2013, but never actually pressing the power button to usually playing this console, because in that year, I was actually a PC person. Alright, let's revisiting this video. I actually starting in my collection in 2024 Nintendo 3DS and Nintendo Wii. The Nintendo Wii was everything alright. It works great, it's modded, and of course it actually plays very well. Everything was nothing missing. Compare some actually accessories that I actually having a problem with me and my cousin, because recently, probably 2 months ago, we playing Wii Sports. Holy fuck! But everything was fine. So let's just say that 20 euro that I actually playing this console, it was really worth it. Thanks to these guys, those guys are really wonderful and they know how they taking a very good care with those consoles. But let's much more talking about Nintendo 3DS. It was on a lack of damaging, liquid damage inside of it. It was quite like some sort of a cola, if I really seeing this video right. But most importantly, I really wanted to talk about this mini SD card. This mini SD card, I actually found out that all the drawings and the pictures that it was taking was actually owned by a girl, who was I actually buying from a retro gaming shop. Since I actually buying this Nintendo 3DS, I actually changing this 4 gigabytes mini SD card to one with a 64 to actually modded this portable console. And to be honest, I'm literally very happy, even though I didn't quite like really having much more intention from this Nintendo 3DS modded, because the only thing that I actually buying the Nintendo 3DS was actually taking the pictures to being something very retro and very nostalgic way. From other things that my friend have usually modded my Nintendo 3DS, the only thing it was really playable to finish in this game was actually playing Need for Speed Run. And yeah, this is definitely more way version of the Need for Speed Run than the original one. By the way, I actually really need to talk about the Need for Speed Carbon on the City, that it's actually only on the PS2 portable. But nothing very special. Probably what I wanted to usually making a little bit of update this modded is that this Nintendo 3DS is really kind of like worth it in this year. And for people who have money and trying to buying this portable console, you should probably buy it, because this is definitely really worth it. And I heard there was a lot of things that you can doing with this Nintendo 3DS, just like usually playing some PlayStation 1 games, which is very cool, and I really want to try one day to do it. But I'm not quite like into modded type of person, and probably I will gonna go to my friends to usually help me to mod this console again. Yeah, I forgot. I have a PSP, and you probably don't forget, because I actually made a video on the Kevin MST from an anniversary for how many years he has this PSP release. I have to talk about a little bit of the PSP, because I have this since when I was 7 or 8 years old. Thanks for my uncle that he buying this PSP modded, by the way, from Thailand. And usually back in the days when you're buying a PSP in Thailand, it was really different, right, than buying this in Thailand in 2024. Probably fake, by the way. But you know, Thailand means Japan, so it doesn't really matter about many things that happens in Thailand, absolutely many things. But yeah, back in the day, I was having a chance to usually have a PSP, which it's gray, just what I like it. It's a little bit scratchy because in my accident reason, and the way how he charged, it's not too powerful, and the way how the resistant battery is not too powerful, but probably in the future I would like to upgrade a little bit to changing the battery and changing the charging. But the only one more thing that it's not really great about this PSP, it's that if you're not using this or open this electronic system from at least a month, every system has become to usually restored, and I have to put the dates and the time, which sometimes it gets a little bit annoying. What usually I want to talk about is that in this year I actually buying only one accessory for the PSP, which of course is a PSP camera. They have two versions of the PSP camera, one is a black and one is a gray, and I actually finding on the YouTube what's the difference between them, and what I actually heard is that the gray one, it's much more, a little bit more quality than actually the black one, but I really don't care because I was really thinking that there was no way that I was gonna find this in Romanian, which I actually did. I actually found this in Romanian, and the guy was not actually want to selling the PSP camera, he was actually want to sell the whole PSP system, including the PSP camera, which is modded by the way. But I was not to want that because I already have the PSP, I was really wanted to having the camera. And of course, the guy was not quite like accepted, but I'm saying with this guy is saying, look, I do not care if you wanted to usually selling a whole bunch of like PSP electronic and accessories, but trust me, I care only about this camera. So I do not care how it costs, but I'm actually gonna putting 20 euro for actually mini camera because I really wanted to usually see how it looks like and how it works, and actually trying this testing, and I will show you later. The guy was like, okay, but I just really need 10 euro, not too much, because it's not really important. So I actually accepted this deal, and he actually gave me for at least a week. And to be honest, even this mini camera, it's not quite like in a very good condition. It's heating a little bit, but it still actually works. By the way, it's so weird that people who using this accessory for the first time, so for example, the PSP camera, it got a little bit an error, and the only one thing you have to do it is actually need to cleaning a little bit of the top of the PSP when you're putting the camera with some alcohol just to be working. And I was a little bit scared because I don't want to putting some liquids in the PSP, so the only one more thing that I actually did is just like cleaning without putting alcohol and usually putting again, and voila, it just works. Now here comes a very expensive one. The only one thing that I hate about the PSP is the memory cards. So I was really need to finding an exactly same size and same memory card from special of the PSP. And the only one more thing that I actually found was actually found on the eBay or probably Amazon to usually mine this. But those kind of sites, and let's just say even AliExpress, took at least a month to actually waiting to having this. And I was already having the PSP camera on it. And the only one more thing that I was really need to usually do was actually going to a very nightmare and worst website in Romanian called EMAG. And I will tell you why. And I need to usually was wanting to buying an adapter from the PSP memory card, and then to usually buying another 34 gigabytes of mini SD card. And electronics in Romanian are much more expensive than other websites that you usually found, for example American or AliExpress. I know that from AliExpress an adapter memory card for PSP it costs like 2 euro, and an SD card from like which is 16 it costs like 5 euro. But no, I usually just hate waiting and usually going to EMAG. I founding the adapter from at least 10 euro to buying it. Then I usually need to buying a 16 or probably 32 because that's how is the maximum of the supporting of the PSP works, for almost 20 euro. And then at least the PSP camera that I actually buying as an accessory was costing 10 euro. So in total that I actually buying all the accessories was in total of 14 euro, including the transport that cost another 10 euro. So it was costing 15 euro from absolutely everything that I actually bought in Romanian. And I know what's the worst to doing this decision, but you know what they saying. You want to having this fast, go buying EMAG. If you want to waiting, go buy some other websites such as AliExpress or other websites that took at least a month. because, you know, the Eastern European reason. But anyway, let's talking about the PSP camera. The PSP camera, it's very nostalgic. I actually doing some testing and I got a lot of likes from some last posting on Instagram on Kevin of IMST, and I got on a lack of really surprising and feedback that I actually really taken the pictures with the PSP camera. I was actually going to the drop down, the second edition, and usually me and some friends from Table Japonese will usually just taking a story of the picture with me taking a picture with my PSP camera, and it was really interesting because since I actually working in that day and editing, many people got a lot of lack of the support, including that, you know, Instagram have some collaboration, and this collaboration became to be a really huge success because when you're having a collaboration post with the event themselves, they usually gonna keep in the much more attention even your page. So that's why I was really kind of surprised that it got really successfully attention, and I'm really very happy about that. I'm literally gonna thinking to buying even the PSP Vita because I really think that they already have a camera, and the quality of that camera of the PS Vita, it's much more really good quality than actually PSP camera, including the fact that, you know, when you're buying a PSP Vita, you already have a camera on it. Instead that you're actually buying a PSP and you need to separating buying camera, and it was really kind of weird back in the days. Because now in these days when you're buying a console or portable console, you usually need to buying an extra amount of money from accessories. And I can't believe it, back in the day, Sony really thinking that they usually win a lot and a lack of the money. And it was really kind of frustrating, even this day when I actually did that. And yeah, maybe in the future, probably the PSP Vita will be my next target from a portable console. And of course, usually I really want to even mod the PS Vita because I heard that if you really modded the PS Vita, it's usually game changing of your life. And I heard that there was a lot of things you can mod this PS Vita and a lot of games that you're gonna have this forever, and I really wanted to having this in my target. Probably I will buying this in Romanian instead of buying this in Germany. Even in Germany has in a very great condition, and in Romanian sadly they're not, but we probably gonna really want to testing about it, and will be a special video about this when I'm gonna want to start into buying a PSP Vita. This is a lot to discuss because buying a PS2, it's back in the future. I don't know. It's weird for me because PS2 was the first console that I actually buy it, and the first game that I actually buying was actually Taken 4. There was a video that I don't want to say what specific channel it is because it is on YouTube, but if you found it, I don't know. But there was a specific 3 videos, me usually recording playing Taken 4 on the PS2. Legitimate. This is not actually an emulator. I think back in the day emulating that and that time was not existed, or probably they existed, but let's just say that it was very, very interesting when I was buying a PS2. The thing is, the way you buying a PS2, the more scary you are, because let's just say I was shitting my pants. The fact that when you open the console, it was that starting sound when literally my dad having to turn it on very big volume on that TV, and I was really scared. And I was having this console when I was 2 years old, but never touch it, never play it, because of scary of the, you know, that power sound. It just really weird for me, the fact that how I started and how I literally 100% started, because when I turning 3 years old, I starting to usually using that console with all my very muscless men, and let's just say it. And yeah, starting to playing Taken 4, one of my favorite game, and I still love it, and I still wanted to keep it playing because it is really, really cool. Instead, I don't know, if I'm playing this game, I prefer playing that continuously than to playing Taken 8. I don't know, even it's a big difference between those two games, but Taken 8 sadly has a lot of like problems of the game. It's a game that they are still testing how people literally playing the game, that every single game, like for example every single Tekken game, became to usually starting by using a console machine, like let's just say arcade games, and then to putting in the consoles, because when you're putting in the consoles it feels like that's the final version, you know, we're putting the console and you have this game forever, not going to paying a lot of extra money to usually putting the coins and playing in the arcade mode. But Tekken 8 has become to be a way different, seems the Tekken 7, because even Tekken 7 was like doing this, you know, arcade first and then the final console. But in Tekken 8 seems the, you know, the pandemic and other stuff like this has become to be a little bit changing, and that's why this game is not perfect. It is not perfect game, and that's the reason I really decided I prefer to playing a Tekken 4 game. We're not talking about more about the specific game, because it is a lack and big story about it. Let's just saying that my dad had this game since he was releasing, and it was still a testing game. Let's just say, yeah, it was still a testing game when, you know, the PS2 was not a modded console, and it was on original, a very good condition, a very original console. And the PS2, when you're playing Tekken 4, has a little bit some like testing, like you're a beta tester to playing that game, and then it was coming to having some updates. I don't know how that works when you're buying a CD instead to usually buying a digital game, because, you know, updates from Steam, for example, it is much more easy than to buying a, I don't know, a CD that is a beta testing. Yeah, it's complicated. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not. But yeah, that was how I started. And then the next games was like racing games. It was the second one, I think, Need for Speed Underground. Very good game. It very hard, to be honest, to playing this on the PS2. And then, I don't know, Gran Turismo 3. Yeah, Gran Turismo 3 was the third game. And then I don't know what other games it was. I think it was Jack and Dexter, Cyber Filter, the very amazing game. I still have that Cyber Filter one that I think it works on the PS2. There was some videos that I want to testing every single PlayStation 2 games. I don't have all of them because all of them has become to be donated with you know, poor people. And yeah, back in the day, it was not my money. Even it was like my gift from my birthday. My parents still thinking that, oh yeah, well, you don't using this anymore, you're using PC, so I would like to giving some other people. And I was like, okay. But then when I have this back, it was really different, because I don't want to usually give no one, because it is a very rare console, and people should understand this, because now I usually pay with my own money, and just usually having a chance to having my childhood back a little bit, because I still playing it, I like it a lot. That's about it of this console. I really wanted to make it a little bit upgrade of like quality and other stuff like this, because it is an amazing console to usually making a little bit like upgrading. And I don't know if I might be gonna want to mod this console, but I think I will still gonna keeping this as original, because it's a really good condition. The only problem is that when you're putting a CD on the console, it can take like 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes to usually reading the CD, and then you can play it. Some other CDs didn't quite like taking that long. For example, Juice, it's maybe I'm saying wrong, but that game didn't taking much more longer. But if I'm putting like other games on the PS2, it took like 2 minutes, and it's weird, but I don't really ashamed about that. But it just, the good thing is its work. It works so well, and I like it. And I legitimately saying it is very worth it, the fact that I paying €15 again a PS2, and I will definitely wanted to try to collecting CDs and playing them, but we're talking about this later. Now let's go to a PS3. It's shockingly, because the PS3 I got, I think, in 2014, and the way that 2014 sounds really weird, because in 2014 was actually added the PS4. I didn't really realize that PS4 was dropped, and I was thinking like, damn, I should get the PS4. But you know, when you're finding a new console such as like PS5, PS4 and other games will be really cheap, and you're gonna having a chance to usually buying it in a very cheap way, and probably even modded, because modding in the PS4 has become to be discovered and very easy to use. There was a specific video that you can playing all the PlayStation games from a PlayStation 4, and it's very amazing the fact that it actually exists. Like, even this is a still a life-changing. Like, you playing Gran Turismo 4, a PS2 game on a PS4, this is amazing. But PS3 was probably a console that I didn't quite like use it a lot, because I don't know, back in the day I was a PC guy, if I'm be honest, and I didn't really care about consoles. But right now, I do, and I really playing on the consoles, and I feel like if I want to playing a video game, I prefer to playing a console than to playing a video game on the PC. I don't know, because on the PC, it's huge different, because you have a lot of things to do on the PC, not just only playing video games, instead to usually go directly from a console that is specifically playing video games. You can do other stuff than playing video games, like watching movies and of course watching YouTube and I don't know, listen from some music if you don't have a music player. But it is really cool the fact that you have this console in play, and then I having a chance to usually buying a very good condition CDs from PS2 or PS3, specifically from the PS3, and we're talking about right now the PlayStation 2 CDs and PlayStation 3. But let's starting with the PlayStation 2. How is that started? The fact that I actually buying the PS2 and of course the CDs. Well, it's funny because I buying in Germany because they have a very good condition, and it was quite like cheap. It's like 15 euro, not a problem at all. I was thinking like, we probably need to buying this. It's not a problem at all. I don't want to buying in Romania because they don't have in a great condition. That's my opinion. But though, how I actually starting to finding a very good condition CDs on the PS2, on the PS3. Well, let's just say Dustin Eden make a story that they actually share for all the public on Instagram, on a story of the location where you can buying CDs and consoles in a very great condition in a very great price. And I was like, no way, this guy actually shared this for everyone to usually go and visit that store. Yeah, it's a retro store. It's not a specifically bigger ones. It's a very low ones. I know there was a name of it. Let me just found it. It's somewhere in Köln, which it's shocking me because I actually was having a vacation that I was in Köln, and this called Retrospiel, probably it's in Germany, but I would say Retrospiel.com. Yeah, that's the name, Retrospiel.com, and it's in Gladbachstrasse 32 in Köln. And in my opinion, you should probably visit because it's might be gonna be for, the first and the last store that you can see in very good condition, a very good price. For example, I don't know, I buying some PS3 games from like 3-4 euro. It was some others that cost like 20 euro, and I was like, I will get it because it's only from that console, only on the PS3. And only one shockingly, when I buying this CD, I was thinking like, it's not in a very great condition from the CDs, because the CD is quite like a scratching. Well, I was really so wrong. It was in the very good condition. It was like a brand new, in my opinion. Of course, the cover it's in Germany, but when you're playing it's of course directly to English, so nothing a problem about it, even though you can change the settings if you want to. But the CDs was in very great condition of the PS3. Sadly not in the PS2. The PS2 have a little bit of the scratching, but of course PS2 to PS3 it's a big changing because it's the different age era, and of course people was actually using this PS2, and of course PS2 when you're putting on the console it sometimes can scratch. So CDs back in the day on the PS2 has being a really huge problem, because that's the problem when the reading takes so long. That's the problem that the CD didn't work, and that's the problem that sometimes, I don't know, the reading doesn't quite like work so well instead how to using on the PS3 console. So Yeah, that's about that. What about the PS2 CDs? Where I buying some of them? The Gran Turismo 4, Juice, Need for Speed, Hot Pursuit on PS2. My dad when he buying the PS2, something bonus for us. Like I was like, I'm very happy. It's still a racing game, so I'm happy the fact that I have one. But I have some like CDs and. It was cool. The only interesting was the PS3 CDs because how in the great condition are, and I never playing like PS3 CDs. I still have some other old CDs that I have like Call of Duty, PES 2013, which I don't like football games, and of course I have some exclusive PS3 games that you can't usually playing a very good well condition on the simulator PS3 game, which is they still in working with that way. But I have Midnight Club, I was really want to playing, and it's fun game. I have Gran Turismo 6, which it's a big difference than Gran Turismo 4. Probably Gran Turismo 4 it's the goated than Gran Turismo 6, but I probably understand why Gran Turismo 6 is not quite like very best game, because you know when the Dustin said is that the Gran Turismo 6 has releasing that game exactly the same date when the PS4 has dropped, and no one actually having attention of that racing game instead to usually having attention to buying a console. Exactly such as how Grid Legends has become to releasing exactly the same day with the Gran Turismo 7. I'm not kidding. I actually even playing that game because I don't have a PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 4 and I don't have the Gran Turismo 7. But yeah, it's exactly the same story. In my opinion, I will keeping to usually playing those console games, especially on the PS3, because I was much more having attention of the PS3. Because the difference between the pricing of the PS2 and the PS3, like, God, I'm really happy the fact that I buying for like €5 Gran Turismo 4, and it was only one less in that magazine. So thanks, Dustin, you really helped me a lot, and it was so shocked because when you showing this story, I was in Germany, and I was like, I have to go there, and I actually go and buying a lot of games. Some of them are really long ago, like I have like since 2006. Some of them are in 2013, 2014. If you're seeing this kind of specific CD, this means that I'm buying this recently. Just do not really having confusing about this is all the CDs you're buying recently. No, there are some old ones, there are some new ones, like recent ones. But the only thing that I make me feel a little bit shockingly that PS2 are still expensive, not the console but the CDs, is that there was some CDs that I was really want to buy it, but it was so expensive. And I will tell you, for example, maybe 3 games about that. So I love Cyberfuel, the Train Omega, or the Omega Train. It costs €20 from a CD, and I was like, this is no way that it costs €20, and I was really wanted because this is a really very seriously game. I do love like all shooter PS2 games, but as that price, I wasn't having a chance to have one. If I was having one, it was only the one PS2 game that I have. That's what I want to say. But there was another game that I playing when I was a kid, and I cannot believe it that this costs that amount of money. And this is only one, the fact that I searching all the PS2 games, and this is only one that it was expensive. Listen to this. Penny Racers, a Japanese developer game that is starting to doing this company from Kyorokyu car toys, and they making even video games. I found out this, 2 of them, by the way, cost €13, €13, and I was like, no way that I found that this game exists in Germany and cost that amount of money. That goes to be so pricing, and I was like, gosh, I really want to buy it because it's really a fun game. But no, I cannot buying this expensive game. In the starting, you have to buying cheaper games, and I cannot believe it that, for example, Burnout 2 was cheap, Gran Turismo 4 was cheap, Juice was cheap, but I did not really want to paying more than 10 euro a PlayStation 2 CD. I can't. It's just so too much for me. But Penny Racers? 20 euro? Yeah. Thanks, Dustin. It's not really kind of like cheap, but still thanks. But yeah, that was the story about the PS2 games. I have some other PS2 games that I don't quite like enjoying to playing it. PS3, I already say. I have taken that tournament too, which is I love it because it was the only game that I was want to focus into playing, and my dad found it still expensive back in the day. I think my dad, all of them, he paying for them at least like 100 euro. The Press 2013, Take It That Tournament, Call of Duty games, and of course, those are cost like 100 euro. The only one expensive was back in the day when it was the releasing of the GTA 5 in 2013. Yeah, 2013 I guess. I paying this on Christmas from probably 16 euro from a PS3 game. And yes, this has absolutely have everything. You have even the maps, you have even the books. It's everything in here. I even making a cosplay about it. But yeah, those PS3 games back in the day in 2013 was still expensive, even though the PS4 was usually dropping, and there was no games, of course, when you're releasing a console, but it was going to really adding some games. And I think PS4 now in these days, it's still kind of worth it to buying a console and buying the games, and especially even modded, because I repeat, it's really different nowadays since the PS5 console has dropped, and you should probably really thinking to buying one because you can mod it in a very, very interesting way. But even this day, I think PS3 games are being a little bit expensive. Like, I do not really believe that this game still costs like 20 euro. Some other game costs like 15 euro. Like, it's still expensive game. But let's just saying, I forgot, there was another one PS2 game that I was really want to paying, Midnight Club 3, and I know Midnight Club 3, it's not kind of worth it to buying this on the console because on the emulator it looks so good and well, but I was really wanted to have it, and this one was cost like 20 euro still, and I was like, gosh, those new games, like very popular names like Need for Speed, Midnight Club, Cyber Filter, Penny Racers, and like, let's just say even Taken. I didn't find Taken, by the way. It's so expensive than no names, like very non-popular games. Like even Gran Turismo 4, it's so expensive in my opinion. Gran Turismo 4 should be a very big name, but no, it just became to be like only 5 euro. And I'm happy the fact that I paying 5 euro. I was like, there was no chance that I buying a PS2 game. Maybe the PS3 games I would buy it, but no, I got very lucky. But yeah, that's about it. It's just a very great story, the fact that I usually having this back and actually playing. And I'm happy the fact that you should guys really need to even get those consoles, because maybe in the future you're not gonna find this anymore. And that's it for this video. I hope this video with all my commentating video, because I'm not into like commentating person, has become to be worth it to watching. But if you don't, I'm really apologize about it. I really thinking that in the future I would like to doing something very interesting. I will still upgrading those consoles that I actually buying. PS2, I think PS2 it might be being modded, I do not know. I founding some specs that you can mod the PS2, and I think it's really quite like too expensive. They became to be so expensive these days, and I really need to buying this as soon as I can. I usually gonna thinking to finding a way to buying a cheaper way to usually game capture while I recording on the PC those consoles, and I found out there was many possibility. I'm not quite like into Elgato guy because it's so expensive. I don't think it's gonna be worth it. Plus I will probably gonna showing you my car that yeah, sadly the Mazda 121 I don't have it anymore, and I will probably gonna making a big project that I will usually playing those console games in my car. And I found out some specs and I really wanted to try it, and plus some I usually gameplays and challenge, maybe because I'm kind of missing to doing this stuff. There was a lot of things that I want to do it, but I'm not sure if I'm really gonna doing very, very soon. Probably those gonna be in the future again, probably from a month, probably 2 months, probably 3 months, probably again, such as like what was the last time I posted, 6 months. So I was doing this because I was having time, but right now I feel that hope if I really making this video, what I've actually upgraded and I've updated, it will be very worth it. The fact that I will wanted to making something interesting in the future. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching, and hope we're gonna see you in the next time.